What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode 4, I believe. I don't know. I've lost count. Season 2, episode 4, I believe, of Par None Podcast. I'm Ryan Hernandez, one of the hosts. Brady Falk, one of our other hosts. PJR, still not able to join us, but hoping soon he will be back up on the podcast with us, hosting and chatting because he's always good to talk golf. He knows way more than I do. He's in on it, so hopefully we have him back soon. But the two of us will keep trudging along until then. Kind of a quiet week in the golf world. We were just talking about it before we came on. Obviously, it was the first round of the FedEx Cup finals, the Tour Championship at East Lake. A couple of wild things going on, which we're going to touch on as well. Besides that, as far as golf goes, not a ton of stuff we're going to talk about. I mean, we may touch on the hearing with Jay Monahan, although it sounded like it was pretty uninteresting. And then their kind of Toulon's new small batch that is no longer associated with Odyssey. But, okay, so East Lake, you said you watched some of the coverage today. I mean, obviously I saw that Scheffler kind of made a disaster of it and Morikawa snuck to the top. So what did you see when you were watching the coverage?
Yeah, it was awesome. I love this time of year when
Yeah.
it comes down to the final week and there's a lot to play for money wise, and it's always good golf because you got the top 30 guys in the world playing.
Right.
So it's always fun to watch. But the golf today was kind of surprising. I expected Scotty to go out there and shoot something solid and hold his lead at least, but it kind of blew up on one hole and it basically, I mean, it took him out of the lead for sure. I think he's 2 shots back now, but I kind of wanted to talk about the format, and
Let's do
the reason why I'm not a huge fan of the format that they got going on right now, because he had such a solid year and he hasn't won since the Masters. So he hasn't been winning lately, but he still did well enough early in the season to earn the number 1 spot going into the week here. But that one hole today, he got a triple bogey and it took him out of his first place position for the playoffs. So it's kind of crazy that he came in with, I think, a 2-shot advantage over second place and a 10-shot advantage over the last person in the field. I feel like you should just be rewarded more than that for a solid full season of play.
Really?
I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I actually think it should be the other way. Because I think about when I think about other sports, and I agree. I mean, I think Scheffler's had a really good year. He hasn't won since the Masters, but I don't think he's also finished less than 12th all season long. So that's pretty big dominance throughout the year, which I don't disagree. But if you look at other sports, there's no advantage once you. I mean, I guess there's home field advantage, but there's no score advantage in other sports. So you could be the best football team or the best hockey team or the best baseball team all year long, and then you can get beat out in the playoffs first round. You're out. Even when everybody's they should win, and then they get beat in the first round, and then you got to just be well, that's the playoffs. So why isn't golf like that? I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying I almost think it should be a clean slate, a clean tournament, but maybe it should be even less guys. I don't know what the answer is. It's just hey, Scotty there's a regular season pot that somebody wins, the FedEx Cup is just a regular season deal. And it's well, Scotty was the best player all season, so he gets this chunk of the pie. And then the top 8 or the top 16 or the top 32, whatever it is, slot into a match play thing where it's yeah, you may be a 1 seed and Brian Harmon may be a 32 seed, but he upsets you, so he gets to move on, just like in other sports. The Patriots may be the top seed and have home field advantage, but the Steelers go in and beat them in the wild card or the divisional round. It's well, tough. I don't know. So, but because I also don't know if it's fair. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's an answer to it. I know there's arguments for it either way, but it actually didn't, because Morikawa shoots 9 under. He was -1. He's -10.
Yeah.
And so you can't really make the argument that you can't come back, although that's kind of a freak thing to shoot 9 under and then hope that the leader shoots one over. I mean, that's cool, but that's not normally going to happen. Like, normally those guys are going to keep a pretty steady pace. And I know we saw Scotty lose it last year, too, so it's not guaranteed that the guy 10 under wins. But I almost think, like, it should be like there's this regular season thing, and then everybody gets slotted into. I think it should be a match play, honestly. I think it'd be much more. I think it'd be much more fun to watch than just watch a guy like, yeah, there's 3 guys who can win because everybody else is too far behind. And I know that's not going to be the case this time, but sometimes it's hard to get into the Tour Championship because it's already so, like, slated out and some guys have no shot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome to have the FedEx points and at the end of the regular season, like, they win that prize. They did so well during the whole season, but then to have an actual playoffs of a match play bracket formatted like our NFL or NBA and the rest of the major league sports, I think that'd be so exciting and a really cool way to end the season.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it'd be much more fun. And you could even do it, I mean, if you wanted to do it a ton of people, right? Make it 3 weeks and put all these people in it, like the top 150 or whatever you need to do to slot it down, where they play 4 rounds. They can still play 4 rounds a week and then be like, I don't know how you whittle that down. I don't know the math of it, but it's like, it's 3 times as big, then it's 2 times as big, then it's small. And then at Eastlake, they play a match play. And yeah, maybe Scotty Scheffler gets knocked out on Thursday and the final is Brian Harman versus, Chris Kirk. It's like, well, that's just sports sometimes.
Yeah.
I know it's a little different because it's totally different format. And in other sports, it's not like you play, well, we're going to play 4 quarters all year long. And then we get to the playoffs. And now we're just going like home run derby. I know those are 2 different sports, but you know what I mean? Or like we're going to play 9 innings and then we're going to go home run derby. And then that's all it is. So I know I know that's not a very fair comparison, but I just think match play is a more fair comparison if you're trying to whittle down a field than being like, this guy starts at 10 under, this guy starts at even. That just, I don't know. It seems like a weird way to do it. And I'm sure there's a lot of good people who could explain to me why it's the best way, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I was listening to coverage earlier, and they were kind of talking about the difference of how it used to be where the points carried over. So instead of starting the week at 10 under and 8 under and 7 under, they would actually carry their points over that they earned throughout the season. And I think that was a really good way to do it, but nobody ever knew what the heck was going on. And I always remember watching, and half the coverage was like they would skip off to the side, and the guy on the scoreboard would be breaking it all down of how the points stood at that moment, and if a guy slid up into 3rd place, how that would change the points. And it was kind of interesting to watch, but also very confusing and not as straightforward as it is now.
Yeah. And you could get guys who, like, some guy wins the tournament and it's anticlimactic because somebody else wins the FedEx Cup. So you didn't necessarily need to win. I think that the 1 or 2 years where Tiger won the FedEx Cup, he was so far ahead that it was like, as long as he doesn't finish 50th place or something stupid, he's going to win the FedEx Cup. You know what I mean? So it's like he could miss the cut or whatever it was. I mean, some stupid thing. So I do get that too. And maybe the FedEx points is what slots them into their first seed or 32nd seed or something like that. So they're not like useless, but at the same time, like, hey, Scotty Scheffler was number 1. He gets a first round bye or something silly, like I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I think if you were to reward Scotty more, and let's just say for argument's sake, you like let him be 20 under and Morikawa starts at 1 under, then why, like, it's like, what's the point of me even coming to this tournament besides just to make a little bit more money? Because, the odds are so outrageous that he makes up 19 shots that, like, where is that line where it's like, these guys can be competitive and the others can't. And if that's the case, then just let it be those guys. Like, if it's 5 shots or 10 shots, then just let it be those guys who are within that range. Don't even invite the other half of the field because they're just there just to be there. I don't know. That's just my thought.
It's always really interesting, and I spend up so much of my time trying to think about like a good way to do it, and I just
Yeah.
can't come to a conclusion.
Well, I don't think anybody can, and that's why we kind of have this was what we have, because it's still. I feel like anybody who looks at it is just kind of like, that doesn't seem like the best way, but I think everybody arrives at the conversation we arrive at, where it's like, I don't know what the best way is. I think having playoffs for golf is weird when you already have the majors, because aren't the majors like those things? Like, um,
Yeah.
the majors are the playoffs almost. So it's just a weird way. I mean, golf is just it's such a different sport than other sports that it's almost like you don't need these end of the season tournaments. And I don't know if that's a kosher thing to say, but like, why can't they just be the last 3 events in a regular season that just earn more points or something like that? But you don't have to. You still run them the same way, and then at the end, if John Rahm is on top or Scotty Scheffler's on top, then he's on top and he wins. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess that's how they used to do it.
Maybe we just need to go to like a long drive competition or an up and down challenge and end the season that way instead.
Yeah, a drive, chip, and putt. They all go back to Augusta and do what the kids do, and their accumulative points win.
There we go. I think that's the solution.
There you go. It just needs to be a skills challenge from here on out. That's hilarious. I like it. Done. We fixed it.
Okay, cool.
Somebody
Jay.
Call Jay. Get him on the phone. We figured it out. He can come on this podcast if he wants and talk to us about how they came up with that. Open invitation for Jay Monahan to come on the podcast.
There we go.
So. Having said all that, who do you think is going to win now after you've seen the first round? Like, who's going to win it?
Gosh, I feel like it's so up in the air. Let me pull up a leaderboard here.
Yeah. Morikawa, Hovland, Keegan Bradley all tied for the lead because Keegan went 7 under today, 63. And then Scheffler is 1 back. And then Adam Schenk and Russell Henley are 2. McIlroy, Fitz, and John Rahm 3 back. And then, we can keep.
So crazy. I guess right now I'd have to say Hovland tied for the lead. He only shot 2 under today compared to the 9 under and 7 under by Morikawa and Bradley, but he just looks so solid today. I didn't look at his scorecard. Oh yeah, he just had a bunch of pars and 2 birdies. So super clean card. He didn't go super low, but he did look super straight off the tee, really consistent, good around the greens.
Right.
My pick after round 1 would have to be Victor, especially with the way that he played last week. That course record on Sunday was insane and super fun to watch. I think he had 8 threes and a 4 on the back 9 in the playoffs at a tough course, and super impressive. So his game is definitely peaking right now. Got to go Victor.
Yeah. That's a tough pick. That's a good pick. Sorry, not a tough pick. I'm going to go Morikawa. I love Morikawa. He's been one of my favorite players. He's had such an off year, but if he's found something swing-wise, then I think he's going to be hard to beat. I think tomorrow will be really telling, is if he kind of stays with it and can put up a, 67, 66, somewhere in that mid-60s range, then it's kind of like he can feel it. And I think that's going to be tough for him. Or for anybody to kind of beat him, because you've seen, like, even at the majors, when he's there, he's there. I'm surprised that he struggled as much as he has with his iron play, but I know his putting sometimes can let him down. So we'll see. I would love if Morikawa wins. It's hard. Again, Scheffler hasn't won since the match. I know it's always just like, it's hard to bet against him, but it's honestly hard to bet for him because he hasn't won a tournament since April. So I feel like the odds are against him winning. I think we put so much pressure on Rory McIlroy to win every single week as like a golf universe that I don't know if he'll ever win. I'm sure he'll win again, but it's just like he's kind of like the new Tiger in a way where we expect him to win every single week, and if he doesn't win, it's just like such a letdown for so many in the golf world
Yep.
And that poor guy is just like, I don't know, like I'm doing pretty well. Uh, so I don't know. Yeah, I could see it being somebody, kind of like out. I don't know if anybody's out there when you're at this point, but like a guy you don't expect to win, like a Russell Henley or a Shank, or like maybe a
Yeah.
Wyndham. I would love to see Keegan Bradley win. I mean, I don't think he will, but I know he's been working super hard. I've heard him talk in other interviews that he kind of really wants to. He really wants to be on the Ryder Cup team. He really wants to do a lot of these other things. So he kind of seems like the guy that you would write, like you just wouldn't pay that much attention to, but he's just like grinding and grinding and busting his ass and working super hard. And he would just like sneak out there and win one when you're looking at all these big names and just kind of people forget about
Yeah. And
Keegan
he did
Bradley.
that
So
this year.
yeah,
He went out and won.
yeah,
And I don't think that he was. I mean, obviously, he wasn't like a favorite going into that week or anything. But
right.
I don't. Yeah, he's got to be a fan favorite. I feel like everybody likes Keegan.
Mhm.
But speaking of Scotty and Rory, they went back to their OG putters this week. I know last week we talked about all the putter changes, and both of them went back to their previous putters. I think
Yeah.
Scotty's using the one that he used to win the Masters, and then Rory went back to his TaylorMade Spider. So I didn't look at their putting stats. I I saw that Rory made a couple bombs for
Mhm.
bogey, so he was rolling it well with the old Spider, and then I think Scotty played pretty dang good, except for that one hole. Otherwise, he'd be in the lead. So
Yeah, I
um,
think at one time he was three under. Yeah, I mean, well, so McIlroy made four bogeys today. I mean, made a fair amount of birdies, but I mean, Scotty also made three bogeys and a triple. So it's not like it's a complete super clean card. Rory made four
yeah,
bogeys and four birdies. So I don't know I mean, again, I didn't get to catch a lot of the coverage, so I don't know if those were results of putting or what that was, but neither not clean cards from those two dudes. So and Rom too is just a surprise. Like he just again he cannot seem to score. I don't know. He just kind of sits around par, which again I have no room to talk. But for him, it's just odd to see him not like really kind of turn it on and go low. He's another guy that was just super hot. I know we talked about it last week too, but some of these
yeah,
guys are
five
super
birdies and
surprising how
four
long it's
bogeys
been
today.
since they say that again.
Sorry, Rom with five birdies and four bogeys today. So
Right.
definitely all over the place.
I was speaking of putting, I don't know, I saw this thing, is it Shane Bacon or somebody does I can't remember who it is. This YouTube series and I was watching it. Oh man, what is it? Anyway, it was a guy interviewing Michael Block and I can't remember. I don't know. I should know who it is.
Oh, is it
He
the
does,
parking lot pro, the PGA memes guy?
yeah, exactly right. Parking Lot Pro. Yep. So he was doing like I guess he goes to like these people's houses. So he was at Michael Block's house, and I don't know why. I guess I didn't realize this. Michael Block was talking about his putter, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I actually have like 6 or 7 of these exact same putters with different angles based on how fast the green is."
Oh,
And I was just like, "That's so interesting to me," and kind of just like a window into even though these guys are better golfers than us, but they also have different setups they can have a different setup for every course, and we can't really do that. Like we don't have our best putter. Like I don't have the 7 of the exact same Scotty being like, well, I know I'm going over to such and such and they're running a 12. So I've got a little bit more loft, slow the ball down, get a little bit more spin. Like you just don't have that luxury. So again, I don't think that's the reason why they're better than I am, but it's just an interesting thing. Like, I mean, if I had a caddy and maybe a different setup for every course I went to, probably be a little bit better golfer. I don't know.
yeah. Well, that has to be in like a weird situation because I've never heard of that before. And like
I didn't either.
obviously like Tiger, he's had his same putter for what 50 years.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of these guys they use the same I mean, they stick with their putters pretty much all the time. They flip out wedges so they get fresh grooves, and a lot of the guys stick with their same iron sets. But that's crazy. I need to check out that video. I've watched that series before, and they are super interesting and fun to see inside these
Yeah.
guys' homes, and they go on like Cam Smith's boat and go to DJ's gym. It is kind of cool to watch, and I was meaning to watch that Michael Black one, but I haven't yet. But the fact that he has the same exact putter with different specs is crazy.
That's what he was saying.
So
and like yeah.
Wow.
I thought that was interesting, and I was just wondering how many guys, do that. I mean, I've heard of. I don't know. I haven't heard of that severe of a situation. I know, like, back to Morikawa, he was talking about, when he was at the British Open, and he just didn't like the way the ball was interacting with the turf. And I think he had the P7 MBs. It went to the MCs, at least in part of his setup. And again, just like, well, yeah, I mean, that's nice if you could do that. You and I can't switch from like MBs to MCs just anytime we want because we got another set laying around, or that kind of thing. So just be like, well, I guess it's just going to be a crappy turf interaction day. Not that I'm good enough to have one of those, but
you call the course.
I do think it's interesting. What's that?
Call the course and ask them for their green speeds, their fairway length.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm coming over there to shoot an 82. Was wondering if you could fill me in on the green speeds, because I'm having a tough time deciding between 1 degree and 2 degrees on this putter choice. I don't really want to lug them both over there and have to putt that many times. So,
yeah, the courses I play, I'd have to ask if they mowed this week yet.
Right, 100%. So, okay, speaking of that, this is a tangent. There's a little course here in town that I belong to. It's like 9 holes. It's super. I don't know. It's basic. It's very basic. It's like But I hadn't been there really all summer because I've been spending a lot of time with a buddy of mine at another course. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if like the greenskeeper was fired or something. But I went there yesterday with my daughter to play around and do some filming. And I've like, not only was the course in bad shape, like tee boxes barely have any grass on them, but the greens were the longest grass I have ever seen on a golf course. It was such a weird like sight, and I almost didn't like know what to do with myself. It was like putting on a shag carpet. It was the weirdest thing I've ever been a part of. Yeah, I don't know. I've been like in a tizzy about it for like a day because I just like didn't know how to react. That's a first world problem. I know that makes me kind of sound like a schmuck. Like, but it was just it was odd. It was oddly long. Like it was not like, oh, these are running a little slow. It was literally like having carpeting in your house. Like I don't know. It was very weird. Let's just put it this way: like
your 7-iron.
Well, like parts of the greens were just missing grass, but there was like several greens that just had like ant hills built into it, and I feel like the grass has to be pretty long and untaken care of for there to be like live action ant hills growing on the greens.
Yeah, those haven't been touched in a while.
So it was so weird. I don't know. I felt like almost, I mean, this makes me sound like a Karen, but I almost was like, I'm going to speak to the manager about this. Like, what is happening here?
Well, not even to complain, just out of general curiosity, like what is happening?
Right. Like that is more so than, I mean, there was part of me that was like, I'm not going to pay a monthly fee to keep coming here if this is what it's going to look like. Like I can spend my money other places, but more so just like, what has happened? Like I used to go there almost every day, but it's like, I haven't been here it hasn't been that long since I've been here. And this is a totally different place. It was.
Hey, they just knew that you weren't around, so there's no reason to manicure the course for you. Yeah, you're back.
That's
though,
it.
So now
that's definitely
they'll start mowing.
Yeah, they didn't. I didn't make it tea time. I just drove up there, so they're like, "Oh shoot, we didn't know you were coming." So yeah, hopefully they sent out the mower.
They saw that you had your high lofted putter, so they know that you didn't need the grass mowed that day.
Right. Well, I need a down loft for that grain. Jeez Louise. They were rolling at about a 2.
Oh,
I was literally
that's pretty
smashing
good
putts,
considering
and they weren't going anywhere. It was wild.
Yeah. A 2 is pretty good considering there's anthills, though.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to next time if I do go back. I'm gonna have to. I should have taken. I don't know why I didn't take like video for people, but I was just. I don't know. We were like, what is happening? Even my daughter, who's like new to golf this year, was just like, this is not right. No, I don't understand what's happening.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, that was a very big tangent, and nobody. I'm not gonna like rat out the course here or anything like that. I'm sure you could figure it out if you follow me on any of my social media stuff, but. Yeah, it was super disappointing, and I was just kind of like, I've never played. I've played thousands of rounds of golf in my life, and I've never ever seen a golf green like that. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Well, you got to go back and give us an update.
I will. I'm gonna go back now. Now I have to.
Curious if it'll get worse.
I don't. I mean, based on what I saw, I don't see it getting better. Just throwing that out there. I don't know. I don't know if they listen. I doubt they listen to this podcast. But if they do, you guys have some work to do. Just throwing that out. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. Side note. Now that we're talking about this, have you ever played on sand greens?
No, I have not.
Okay, I have not either. But there's a famous course. I'm from Colorado, and if you're like, we used to drive to Garden City, Kansas. This is a long story that really has nothing to do with anything. But now I'm thinking about it. We just always used to drive a course with sand greens. And I remember the first time I saw it being like, what in tarnations is this thing? And my dad had to explain to me like, oh yeah, this is when you can't grow grass well enough or they don't have what they need. You literally putt on grass and you have to rake it after every hole. And I was like, that sounds insane. Like I cannot imagine having to like rake a green every time I played on it, but they exist and it's wild. I don't even know how the ball does. I don't know how the ball goes anywhere. Like I'm still trying to like, after all these years, process how does the ball roll without not like toppling into the sand.
I gotta look this up online after we're done here and look into that.
It's a real
I'm pretty
thing.
sure. My high school golf coach, he went over and taught overseas. I think Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure. Sorry, but
Okay.
he posted some photos of very sandy courses, and I think it was like sand everything. If I am recalling these photos correctly, so I gotta look into that because that is pretty interesting. And if they can maintain and make it like an actual like halfway decent experience, that'd actually be pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind trying it just one time to say that I've tried it, but I'm also like just super hesitant about the work that it takes. So, anyways, but I don't know. It was just that's just making now I'm just like going off on tangents, but anywho.
That's all right. That's what we do.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's been so cool. Do you have anything else? There wasn't a ton to talk about. I know we talked about a little bit. Did we talk about the Odyssey, the small batch thing?
No, that's the last thing that I had. I wanted you to tell me more about that because you know more about it than I do, so I want to hear it.
Yeah, so today Odyssey launched. If you haven't seen it, let me see if I can. I'll try to pull it up here. Again, it's going to be hard to see on the thing. This is kind of a better picture of it, I think. But if everybody at home can see that. Nope, that's not it.
Oh, it switched.
Yeah. Anyways, there it is. So Toulon, Sean Toulon, right, is kind of like was the Scotty Cameron of Callaway or Odyssey. For those of you who don't know, right, Odyssey is owned by Callaway, and then Toulon was the high-end putter that Odyssey sold, who Sean Toulon is like the Scotty Cameron of Callaway Odyssey. Anyways, he left Callaway like a month or so ago, and now just has Toulon Design, which is its own separate thing. And they're going to work on only doing like high-end, small batch stuff. So like the top 1% of people who buy and collect like rare or expensive golf clubs. Stuff that you and I are probably not going to buy. But so their first small batch release as like a solo entity dropped today. It's called the Dogwood. It's that putter that I was just showing you. And I don't know what I know it's very limited quantities. I don't know how many there are, but they're selling for $2,000 a piece.
That's crazy.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll sell out because I feel like all of that stuff does. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how. I'm interested to see how successful it'll be without kind of like the marketing and the backing of Callaway or Odyssey or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Scotty Cameron. I don't know how many people know Sean Toulon, and I don't like, and no disrespect to Sean at all, because I've met Sean, I've talked to Sean. He's actually a very nice guy. I really enjoyed our time that we spent together. But I just don't know. Like, I feel like if Scotty Cameron walked into an event, I would probably know who that was, just being like, that guy looks familiar. But I don't know how many people would know Sean Toulon if he like walked into an event, or how many people even use a Toulon compared to a Scotty Cameron. Like, I feel like it's very almost like super niche as opposed to a Scotty, which everybody wants.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully he got enough of a following under Odyssey so that he can branch out and be successful in these small batches. I feel like when a premium small batch is released, it usually is successful and sells out right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. Unfortunately, it's probably not one of those things that we can find in a golf shop and test out.
No.
Since it's a small batch, it's not going to be accessible to 99.9999% of the population.
Right.
But yeah, they look cool. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how like what other putters he comes out with and how often he has the small batches. But it's kind of fun to see new and different stuff and changes in the golf club world.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think, again, I don't know. When I look at that putter, I don't know if it screams it's worth $2,000, and maybe it is. Like, again, I know things are only worth what you're willing to pay for them. So for somebody, it is worth that. To me, I would not pay $2,000 for it just because it's not my style, and I'm not going to buy that just to like hang it up.
Yeah.
Having said that, I do like exactly what you said. The thing I like about it is that it's different. It's not just like a cool design of this. It's not the 7 that we always see or the blade that we always see. I like that it's different. I think that's what you have to do with small batch is you have to make it like unique to like make it like I want to buy this instead of like I'm just buying an Austin and they're calling it, it's got flowers on it, so it's $2,000 when like there's no difference to it. So I like that. I know that there's like some other plans for like high-end irons and maybe drivers and that kind of stuff, and I don't even know how much I'm supposed to know. Or I mean, again, I don't think we're gonna get in trouble for talking about it, but I mean, I'm excited to see what they do. I think it could be really cool. It's just nothing that I'm ever going to be able to afford, so I'll just be looking at it from a distance. But it's certainly an interesting thing. And again, I don't know how many people know about it because I don't think Callaway or Odyssey ever like actually announced that he was leaving like externally.
Right.
And so like I don't know how many people. Again, I don't know how many people are after a Toulon. I never see them. Like if you're ever playing with somebody, you hardly ever see Toulon putters.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to see people who are like going to look at the Toulon Garage on Odyssey's website are wondering where they found that, like what they'll think or how they will kind of end up making their way to it. But yeah, I mean, I think eventually I think they'll all sell out, but I think eventually it could be a really cool, like come to be known as like a special deal to be like, oh yeah, I have a Toulon small batch. And again, I think they're definitely more geared to the rich. I mean, the rich. There's no way to say it other than that. So like, I think maybe in like the higher brow country club world, it is more well known than like the people who shop at Dick's or Golf Galaxy or PGA Tour Superstore, just because. Yeah, they're like you said, you can't walk in and test them or see them, so you really have to know what you're looking for this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure. So you said that you looked at this putter and it didn't scream that it's worth $2,000 for you. Is there a putter in the world that you would pay $2,000 for?
I mean, Yeah, I think for me, that's hard to say. I mean, like, putters don't get my goat like they do for a lot of other people, which is fine because I like other things. I mean, um, I don't know if I would pay. I think for me, it would have to have some sort of like golf historical significance, like
Hmm.
Tiger's putter. Like I would pay
Yep.
money for that because it's a piece of history, or you know, or Jack's putter, or something that was like meaningful that I found meaningful from like a golf historical standpoint. I don't think for me I would just buy a putter just because it was like, well, there's only 50 of these out there. So you would own it and be one of those. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could. I haven't seen one yet that I'm like, yeah, I have to have that. I did buy the only thing I've ever done that from golf wise ever in my life is Mizuno came out with the blue Ion
Oh yeah.
221 blades for their anniversary. And I mean, I've always been a Mizuno fan, so maybe that is the same for people who have always been a putter or a Toulon fan. But I was like, I felt like those are one day going to be like, oh yeah, they're rare. Nobody has them. And maybe I'm wrong. You know, again, they could just be like 50 years down the road, they could be worth less than I bought them for. Um,
Yeah.
but that's really the only piece that I was like, that thing is cool. And I don't think a lot of people will have them down the road or would have taken care of them. And so maybe one day they can help put one of my girls through college or pay for their wedding or something like that. But as of right now, they've stayed in the box with the wrapping on them.
Nice.
I took them out for one video and they went back in the box. So
That's cool. So if you
yeah,
did that for Mizuno irons, there has to be people out there that do it for Toulon putters.
for sure. But I do think the only difference to me, and again, I could be wrong, is that they were pricier than a set of irons, but the percentage of difference was not that. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like
Right.
it would be those irons would have had to been $5,000 or $6,000 to equate the percentage hike of what you would normally buy a Toulon or a Scotty Ford that you're now going to be like, I'm going to pay 4 times
Yeah.
what I would buy this like a normal putter that does the exact same thing. Um, so that's the only difference, but I don't disagree with you. I definitely think I think there's people out there that'll buy them, and two, I would not be surprised if when we look on Toulon's website in a couple days, they're sold out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they're going to do exactly what they're intended to do. Is they don't have to make a ton of them. They're going to make a ton of money off of it, and it's just going to build anticipation for the next one because it's like, well, I didn't get this one, or there's going to be those people who are again uber rich and uber into it, and they're going to literally get every single one and have
Yeah.
like this collection of Toulon small batch. Or I don't know. I mean, like, does Scotty Cameron even do stuff like that? I never see it if he does.
Yeah. Yeah. He has the well. I guess I don't know if he does like small batch, but he has one offs like the Circle T stuff. That's probably
Mm-hmm.
the equivalent.
Right.
Probably those
Yeah.
putters are a couple thousand.
Yeah. And again, I'm not going to buy, I won't be buying a Circle T anytime soon either because it's just like, either one, I feel like I can do I don't think it's going to make me a better putter. And two, like, it's just going to sit here with the head cover on, which again, people are going to say the same thing about the Mizuno irons, which I get, but I can't justify, like, I wouldn't spend $5,000 or $6,000 on irons either. So just for me, it's the percentage of increase that it's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy. Again, if Tiger's 20-year-old gamer comes up for sale, it's going to go for a lot more than 2,000. First of all, much more than I can afford. We're talking probably millions. But like I would bid $2,000 on that because that's or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think it would have to have more of like a historical significance or something that was just like this. This is super cool. I have an old putter from my dad that has a wooden shaft on it. So like those kinds of things. I mean, that kind of thing is cool. So like maybe if he came out with a small batch with like a wood shaft or something like really different, maybe I'd go after something like that. That's just like, okay, now you got my attention. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That'd be cool. I think that
Could you see
I'd
you buying a $2,000 putter? Like something like that?
I wouldn't have to have historical meaning behind it, but if Tiger putted with it even once, I feel like I would be very interested. If
Well, that is
Arnie,
golf history.
Jack,
Tiger does it, yeah.
yeah, if Arnie, Jack, JT, Rory, or Ricky, probably any of those 6 guys touched a putter, I would I'd be interested because
Yeah.
I'm I'm a big fan of all of them, and that'd be
Mhm.
super cool to have something that they, even if they didn't even put it in their bag, even if they had it to test out one time, I feel
Yeah.
like that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. No, I mean I totally agree. That for sure I would be much more inclined to like throw money at, because it's like, okay, like they did this. And I think that is a part of golf history, regardless if it's like, well, Tiger hit
Yeah,
5
true.
putts with this. It's like, yeah, that's still part of it. Like,
Yeah,
um, but I don't know if it's like, well, this is the prototype, this is the model that we made for JT or Ricky. He never hit this. This
right.
is just the head. Again, Odyssey did that with that Jailbird that he won with. They just
Yeah,
released that like Jailbird and charged, what was it, like $600 or $700 for it. Um, and it's like, this putter was just worth, like, they just had this for two. It's the exact same one that they just charged like 250 for like a year or two ago. So you're just getting sucked in to the marketing of it, because it's like, that putter's not worth that. They just made 300% on it because 2 or 3 guys won with it back to back weeks. It's like, well, that putter existed for a long time. It's not even new.
yeah. And the
Not even a
Ricky
new
thing
model.
is super interesting because I'm pretty sure that he blacks out the Odyssey logo because he's not paid by them, and I think he has a deal with Titleist on the Scotty putters. So
Hmm.
the Odyssey isn't even paying him, and then they're just raking it in off of his success with the putter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do know that he has the Odyssey logo blacked out on his putter, and I thought that was why.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be that he doesn't want to show off. Although, like when you use a putter that like
Yeah,
unique
everyone
looking, it
knows.
doesn't make any difference whether you
Yeah,
like, everybody knows what it is, and that's what's so silly. It's like, everybody knows what it is. What are you doing? Like, the other guy who won right after you has the exact same one, and his is not blacked
yeah,
out. Like, we all know what it is. Um,
yeah,
so funny, but anyways, yeah. I'll just stick with my store bought Scotty Cameron. So
yeah. Just
whatever.
off the shelf. Nobody
Sucks.
famous used it, or nobody
No,
famous designed it besides
no.
the Scotty Cameron factory.
Right. Yep. Just some poor schmo in a factory. Um, yep. Nobody famous has hit it. Just sitting there. But whatever. Tiger's welcome to try it
Besides,
out. Again, open invitation. If he wants to hit my putter, he can.
Ryan Hernandez did use it on greens that were long, shaggy, and anthilly though. So
Could be worth something. I'm happy to put my John Hancock on it. I will part with it if somebody wants to pay me an exorbitant amount for it. If somebody wants it for $2,000, I got a silver Sharpie with my name on it, real quick. Just saying.
there we
Just
go.
DM me if you're interested.
I'm sure there'll be a long line for that.
Oh man! All right, you good? I think I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to the shortest episode ever so far of the Par None podcast. That's what happens when we get down to the end of the golf season. There's just not a lot happening. But we'll have plenty to talk about, I'm sure, with how this tournament ends up. So, Ryder Cup picks are coming on the 28th. So Monday. So I'm sure we'll have a ton. I'm sure we'll wait to even record until we find out what's that, because there'll be plenty to talk about just with Ryder Cup picks and all of that kind of stuff. So we're not done yet. We're going to keep going. Thank you guys so much for listening. You guys know what to do, so I'm not going to go through the whole spiel of all of the liking, subscribing, stuff like that. You guys know what to do and you hear it all the time. But we're just grateful that you guys are listening. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.